you guys? Welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Look, there was only 2 games at the weekend, so we'll do a quick review of those 2 games, and then we'll speak about next weekend's games. There's a full set of fixtures on Friday, so it's a bit of a bumper night on Friday. So, we'll start with Longford against Treaty. 1-1 draw here, Sean. Sam Verdon for Longford and the Curran for Treaty. Both teams stay in the positions that they started the game, 4th and 5th. So it was kind of a nothing game, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and doesn't really benefit anybody. You know, Longford needed to win to have a chance of catching us in 3rd, and Treaty needed to win to have a chance of catching Longford in 4th. So it doesn't really benefit anybody, but I suppose at the same time, Treaty have bigger fish to fry, and Longford, the difference between 3rd and 4th is not really a great deal. So yeah, nothing game really.
Yeah, Gavin, just looking at the crowd, it was obviously on Saturday afternoon before the Ireland-Scotland game. Pretty poor. We'll come on to Waterford and Bray in a second, but yeah, pretty poor crowd. Disappointing for Longford.
Yeah, I suppose so, and that's the unfortunate thing, especially having a game before an Irish game like that, and you're not going to get a big crowd. And I suppose, like for want of a better word, small crowd, and then to have a 1-1 draw where, as Sean said, there's nothing in it. Nothing gains from the game, and I suppose, look, it is one of these games you just want to forget about.
Yeah. The crowd that didn't show up didn't really miss anything. As I said, 1-1, so both stay in the positions that they started in. Bray 0, Waterford 3. We'll move on. Thanks for your input on that. Only joking. Sean, were you in the car though?
I wasn't, no.
Okay. Again, a pretty poor crowd. Now I know there was a Wicklow hurling final on that day as well, and Sunday afternoon kickoffs don't really suit a lot of people. Waterford didn't get out of 2nd gear, really. Didn't even get out of 1st gear. Taylor with the opener, bit of a scuff shot from a corner. It's a bit scruffy. Patterson's probably been my player of the season. Then Griffin in the second half. You say Treaty have bigger fish to fry, but so do Waterford as well. I'm presuming like they're guaranteed the playoffs. What now? Is all focus on the FAI Cup semi-final?
Well, there's a bit of focus on the playoffs as well, but I suppose in general, what you could say is that we've got 10 games coming up over the next 2 months, and they're all going to be quite important. I think this was one of the last chances you'll have where it's going to be 1 game a week. You're going to have a chance to put the first team out there and see what they're capable of. We're going to talk about this when we get to the previews for next Friday's games, but it's important that they rotate just as a matter of keeping the squad healthy and fit. So it was nice to see the first team. Never, didn't have to try too hard, unfortunately, but it was still a good outing for him, a solid win, and some good individual performances from the likes of Patterson, Shane Griffin, Paul Martin had a penalty save. So can't really have any complaints about it, but just not very noteworthy.
Yeah, Gavin, Damien Duff was a very interested spectator at the Carlisle on Sunday. Obviously, to keep an eye on the Waterford players that will be a threat to his Shelbourne side in the semi-final. Phoenix Patterson has probably, as I said already, been one of the players of the season. Do you think if Waterford don't go up, sorry about this, Sean, I have to. If Waterford don't go up, would Patterson probably move on to a Premier Division team?
Yeah, I suppose like Keith did with Waterford, to be fair to him, there'll be a couple of lads in that team, who will probably get offers, I suppose, if Waterford don't go up. As I've been saying plenty times, and out of all the stars in the team as well, like another one, and that is Niall O'Keefe, who I think has been one of the standout players all season as well. So as well as Fink Patterson, I think Junior as well has been very good from what I've seen of him. And I think Niall O'Keefe has been superb in that position. So I suppose Waterford, in that sense, won't want to leave go of any players. But I think they'll stick around anyway. And I suppose, look, if they're like obviously with the new owners, they'll obviously want to try and keep these players. And they want to. If Waterford don't go up this year, they'll want to win the league next year. So I suppose that from a salary point of view, the lads will be looking for they want to look for a decent income every week because it is their job. So that'll be the most important thing for them. So like if they're offered good wages and they think that there's things are looking up for next season, then hopefully they'll keep the players that they have, because that'll be vital if they want to. If they don't go up this year, it'll be vital for next season that they do win the league, hopefully, or get promoted next year.
Yeah, just briefly on Bray, Gavin. Another defeat. A raft of changes again in the starting 11 this week. They're probably just looking at just end the season now. I know we've discussed this before, but it doesn't get any better for Bray. I think they've 6 wins all season, and 3 of those were against the bottom 2 sides. So yeah, just on Bray, just end the season now. That's what the players will be thinking.
Yes, and like at the same time too, Keith, you have to look from a point of view. You're playing a good side there in Waterford, to be fair. Like, and who are a very good side. Like, so I mean, to get anything out of the game would have been hard anyway, with all due respect to Bray. So I suppose from that point of view, like even if they didn't lie down in the game and they gave 110%, like just from quality wise, like Waterford would have probably beat him in that sense, like and I suppose, as you said there, like Bray didn't have to get over first or second, Waterford didn't have to get over first or second gear, and because the quality is there, to be fair to them. So they probably never really had to up their game in that sense. Like, and I suppose they just wanted to try and save their energy and try not get injuries before the game against Shelbourne before the semi-final.
Yeah, Waterford probably could have won by more. Sean, did you watch the game?
I was watching bits of it. Yeah, all right.
Just the chances. Now, Bray, in fairness, missed a penalty just after half time to get back into it, and obviously Martin saved. So comfortable win for Waterford there, and keeps them in 3rd place. Boys, we'll move on to this week's games. As I said, it's a full house on Friday. We'll start off with a derby game that means something to the people of Athlone and Longford. Doesn't necessarily mean something to the league table. Athlone at home to Longford. Longford on the back of the 1-1 with Treaty, they'll be looking to keep that little step ahead. It probably doesn't matter now, Gavin, in the playoff. If Longford or Treaty finish 5th, they're going to play Galway probably. Or if they finish 4th, they're going to play Waterford. Both sides have quality in different positions. So Athlone, on the other hand, they're a couple of points ahead of Cobh. They've got off the bottom, which is fantastic for them. They've scored a lot of goals this season, but how do you see this game going?
You never know, because again, Keith, could be one of these games, where you'd be surprised that Athlone could get the victory. Or as you said, Thomas Ilua, isn't it? He's what is he? Probably 12 or 13 goals this season. So to be fair to him, like I said a couple of weeks ago, he been a fella that could end up, with his input into Athlone for where they are positional wise. He's obviously had a huge impact in Athlone. So for himself, I suppose he'll want to better himself as a player. And again, for his sake, he's the one who could turn up this weekend and get a couple of goals. So like you would think from Longford's point of view in terms of quality, and like as I said, they're very well organised. They're a great team to watch. I'd be expecting Longford victory, but again, look, if it's a Thomas and Lewis show, it could be him against Longford in that sense. So the game could end up, you'd be expecting Longford to win, but if he shows up, it could be a different story.
Sean, does it really matter who wins this game? It's disappointing that so early on with 4 games to go for some teams that a lot of the positions are done and dusted. So does it really matter that if Longford win this game or not?
Well, I think it's only a matter of pride, really. I suppose one thing you could look at from an Athlone perspective for where this game matters is that it's a derby, and derbies always kind of have that about them. They produced a good performance last time in the derby as well, and it was the first time I don't know how many years they'd won in Longford. I have a sneaky feeling about Athlone this week. I think derby could bring it out in them. They've sort of finished the season on a high note. They've had a few good wins in recent weeks. They beat Cobh last time out. They beat Wexford the time before that. They're capable of putting together a good performance. Now, an entirely different team could turn up. That's the only thing about them. But I think that there is a bit of pride at stake, and that gives the game a bit of meaning.
Yeah, we move on to Wexford against Bray. Almost another derby as such, the N11 derby, whatever you want to call it, East Coast derby. Sean, Wexford will be disappointed. 5 without a win in the league, and that type of form kind of ensured that they didn't threaten Treaty for a playoff spot. As we already discussed, all the places are now guaranteed for most teams, and Treaty are guaranteed a playoff spot. Ian might be disappointed with the form they've been in. I know they beat Sligo in the Cup in that run, but 5 league games without a win is not good form at all.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with how we had them playing, I think it was very disappointing that they couldn't turn some of those some of those performances into results. They're still. I think they're still mathematically they kind of have a chance at it, but it's like it's so far beyond them at this stage. It'd be a miracle if they did it. I suppose the only thing you'd be looking at from a Wexford perspective is if you can keep most of this team together and have a go again next season, you probably get into the playoffs. But that's the only thing. As far as the season is concerned, it's really over, and that's disappointing from a Wexford perspective.
Yeah, very disappointing after being unbeaten in 7 games. Gavin, Bray, we've discussed them already with the result. Look, they've less than a point a game this season, 27 points in 29 games. They've played Wexford 3 times already this season, a 0-0, a 1-0, and a 2-0. So, going on that, it's going to be a 3-3 draw, is it?
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, Keith. I suppose like from Wexford, as you said there, like after going 7 unbeaten and then haven't got a result in the last 5. To be fair to Wexford in that sense, then so I think like if you look at them in terms of stature for a club compared to Bray, Bray have a fantastic stadium, the Carlisle grounds. Like Wexford Stadium, there it's one for not even a stadium for want for better words. It's kind of a funny setup up there, and it's a club that's well run. And I think like that, to be fair to them, as Sean said there, like they'll want to try and keep the lads that they have, try and keep them together because they have to look at it from that point of view that I suppose try and go for the playoffs again next year probably means like it's one of these meaningless games, unfortunately. But I don't know, it's kind of a strange game in that sense, and there's probably nothing in it. But again, it could be one of these games that, as you said there, 1-1, 2-1, or 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, and it could be that game that you would think could be the worst game, could end up again. Like we've had this chat before when we've tried to predict games and we haven't been able to predict them right. So it couldn't end up being 3-3. Anything is possible,
Yeah, in fairness to Bray, they've been unlucky against Wexford this season. The 1-1 down there last time, we missed the last minute penalty. And the 2-2 in Bray, we introduced a substitute in the 94th, 95th minute. And his first touch of the ball, he puts the ball into his own net. So it wasn't a great introduction for him. And we won't mention the player involved.
Harry Maguire.
Guys, we move on to Waterford against Cobh. Sean, we start with you. Waterford, it's kind of like Longford. Do Waterford really need to win this game? I know you've said that you want to see the first team involved as much as possible in the run-up to the Shelbourne game. Do you think the Waterford management team will change it up a little bit, or will you keep with the same squad or the same first 11?
Well, without being too disrespectful to Cobh, this is one of the games where you have an opportunity to see what you have on the bench. I mean, you've got Longford away on Monday, and that's going to be a very tough game, and you're going to want to at least put your best foot forward for it. And looking at the games that we have then to finish out the season, I mean, this is one of your only opportunities, really, to give the first teamers a rest. We know about the risks that come with playing the same 11 week after week. What happened just last season, and you end up with fellas who are out on their feet. and when it comes to the business end of the season, they're not able to perform at their best. So I would like to see. I think we should win this game anyway. I'd be disappointed if we lost or drew or whatever. But I would like to see what we have on the bench.
Yeah, Gavin, Cobh, they're kind of just looking to get results to get them off the bottom of the league. You know, wooden spoon is definitely within their grasp. They 3 wins all season, and they've been around a bit, against the teams around them. 1 against Bray, 2 against Athlone. You know more than most about Cobh, given you're from that area. You know, without repeating myself, is Shane just looking to next season to try and build something?
100% Keith. And like, to be fair to them, you know, after the result against City in the Munster Senior Cup final last week, like, their heads will be up and they'll be buzzing after that. And to be fair to them, I know City was what you want to call a second string team, but like, Cobh deserved the victory, fully deserved it, to be fair to him. You know, Cobh in that sense, like against Waterford.
That game, Gavin, mean more to Cobh than it did to Cork?
I don't think so. I just think Cork were terrible. You know, they were poor that night. Like, for the fellas that were out there who, sorry, not for going off the beaten track, for fellas that want to, you know, if City go up and they want to go Premier next year, they're not good enough. Simple as that. And that's not being harsh on them, you know. These are fellas that want to play for Cork City and they're just not good enough. But separate to that, Cobh deserved the victory that night, to be fair to them. They wanted it more. That was probably it. That's probably the best way of putting it. They probably wanted it more. So their heads would be high after that. And you know, again, this probably is the same kind of, I know it's kind of like, as you use the word repeating yourself, but it's probably like the Bray situation last week. It's just that Waterford, quality-wise, would be better than Cobh anyway. I think even if Cobh give 120% and try and stop Waterford just have that quality where they'll make that, you know, a turn or a touch or a goal or just a bit of class that they have on their side. And I just think Waterford will be just too much for Cobh, unfortunately.
Yeah, so another home win. Probably, I laugh. It's probably the most important game of the weekend. Obviously, Cork haven't won the title just yet, Gavin. Galway travelled down to Limerick to play Treaty. This is potentially a dress rehearsal of the playoff, one of the playoff games, you know, because with Treaty already in 5th and Galway in 2nd, probably not going to change positions between now and the end of the season, and they'll be getting a very close look at each other. But Galway obviously have to win, Gavin, to have any hope of catching Cork City. Do you think they can keep on the tails of Cork City, or will Treaty get something out of this game?
Again, I suppose it's a sticky game because the fact that Galway have to go to Treaty, Treaty have nothing to lose in this game, and you know, the pressure is going to be on Galway here. The pressure is going to be on from the point of view is that they'll want to try and close the gap on Cork City. So this could be quite a sticky game for Galway. And like, I suppose, you know, looking at Galway, the way they've gone in some of the games this year where you'd be expecting them to win and they're picking up draws, and you know, you'll be looking at results and you're saying, I didn't expect that from Galway this week, where you know, you genuinely don't know what to expect from Galway. So this could be quite a tight game for Galway. And like, as the game goes on, like I said about Cork City, when City don't score and the game goes on, they get frustrated. This could happen to Galway if the game goes on and Treaty, you know, managed to hold Galway in this game. So I don't know, this could be quite a funny game to predict. Like, you would be expecting from a quality point of view and the players that Galway have, you'd be expecting a victory. But I think this will be a more psychological situation for Galway, trying to get a result in the game, you know. So it could be this could be a hard game to call.
Yeah, Sean, Galway have obviously invested a lot of money this season. They've a very, very good squad. They signed players before the season began. They've signed players in during the summer as well. Have they disappointed? Have they disappointed you this season? Were you expecting more from them?
I think towards the second half of the season, they've been a bit more disappointing. I mean, it was a great result for them last time out, beating Cork in DC Park. And, you know, they really kept their hopes alive. But it would have been much better for them if you look back on it that they had beaten Wexford in DC and then not drawn with Cobh down in Collins Park. You know, you turn those two results into wins. Bray. They lost to Bray in Galway. But you turn those two results into wins, and all of a sudden you're 2 points behind Cork, and you've got a game in hand on them. So it's going to be disappointing for them. I think they've still got the chance to go up through the playoffs, and this is a good opportunity for them to see what they're probably going to be up against in Treaty. But I think it has been a disappointing season for them, and if they don't go up, then serious questions are going to be asked.
All right, Gavin, Sean's just written Galway's title hopes off there. So obviously Cork are absent this Friday. They play the game more than everyone else at the moment. So look, we'll see how it goes. I think Galway will go I think they're at the moment they're 7 points behind. So if they get the win, they'll go 4 points behind. So it'll just add a little bit of spice to the last couple of games of the season, won't it? Guys, thanks very much for coming on. Guys, if you like the content, hit the bell notification. Let us know in the comments what you think, and we'll see you next week for the review show of the weekend games. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, lads. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Sean.
Cheers, Gav.
Take care.